痛いよ、ナミ。話してよ。
チャンネル登録してね。
ナミ。
Car D Kaizoku.
This video is sponsored by Nengarden. Check out their new exclusive Joker playmats, now available for pre-order in full color and one in sleek black and white at nengarden.com. They're having a holiday sale right now with 25% off items. This stacks with my affiliate code card Kaizoku for an additional 5% off. This video is sponsored by gumgum.gg. Discover the latest OP10 deck list on gumgum.gg, updated daily. Be the first to see decks for new leaders as they emerge. With over 1,000 deck lists per set, gumgum.gg has all the top strategies as soon as they drop. This video is sponsored by Card Market, Europe's largest online marketplace for trading card games. Right, in this video, we're going to be taking a look at OP09 ranked sim data. This is provided by the folks at TCG Matchmaking via OP Bounty. If you want access to their Patreon, they have given me like 100 free 1-month trials that you can redeem. I'll have it linked in the description below. Hopefully there's still some left if you're hoping to see some of these stats yourself. But yeah, I just took their data and then I made it pretty with some software here. So looking at the top 10 by ranking, this is data as of December 19th, by the way, in case you're watching this at a future date or depending on the date that I upload this. So I'm not going by just the win rate, I'm also factoring in the play rate. So I'm weighting the win rate based on play rate here. That does introduce bias for like the most played decks, but I feel like that's the only way we can kind of calculate this, or at least the simplest way without having to know like advanced statistics. Because otherwise you'd get like results like Red Purple Law having a 72% win rate, even though he's only had like 19 games, but he won 8 of them, right? We want to exclude win rates like these from being at the top. So yeah, we're going off the weighted kind of score here. So based off of that, this is our top 10. We have Shanks at first, followed by Blue Doflamingo after that, followed by Purple Luffy. Then Teach, Lucci, Red Purple Luffy, Black Purple Luffy, Bonnie, Black Yellow Luffy, and then Belletti rounds off our top 10 here, with Nami being like kind of the 11th right after that, just so that we can see her peeking down here. And then yeah, it kind of corresponds with the play rate as well, right? Shanks is the most played leader at 18.3% of the pie here, followed by Blue Doflamingo at 14.6, and then so on and so forth. And if we take a look at our speculative tier list from OP09, a video that we uploaded a couple weeks ago, it's not too far off. So this is how we broke down the tiers in that video. Right? I think we were a little too generous with the A tier. If we were gonna just confine this to top 10, right, we'd probably put Marco and Smoker down because that's what we saw here. Marco and Smoker did not appear in the top 10 at all. In fact, Smoker is 16th and then Marco is 20th. So at least in the top 20, they showed up. And then I think I overrated Bonnie. Bonnie should be down here. And then I underestimated how popular Shanks was in the West. So Shanks goes up here. But in my defense, if you take a look at gumgum.gg for like the Eastern Championship Series toppings, we don't see Shanks here much at all, right? He got a second at the Aichi Championship Series. Other than that, he didn't really show up in the finals for any other championship series, right? So I assume that maybe Shanks is not as strong as we put him out to be. He got 8th at Manila. Other than that, everything else is like Black Yellow Luffy, Doflamingo, Purple Luffy, and Teach. So that's why I kind of rated Shanks lower than most people would expect. But yeah, just based off of the rank data, he deserves to be in S for now. We'll just have to see if that actually converts to tournament performance in the West as well. And with that, this kind of matches the top 10 that we saw here, right? I just had Shanks and Bonnie flipped in my S and A tiers. But yeah, on top of this, I do think that I underestimated Zoro. I shouldn't have put him in F. He's actually pretty decent. I believe he's like 13th here, right? So a lot better than I gave him credit for. So sorry, Zoro. Put him in the top of B. Well, the order in the tiers didn't matter. I don't know why I suddenly decided it mattered. And then this good but dice to Blackbeard tier. This probably was a bad idea to make, right? Because Blackbeard isn't even that oppressive in the meta. He's like, what, 3rd? 4th? And he has like a 48% win rate. So yeah, maybe this good but dice to Blackbeard tier isn't as big of a deal as I was making it out to be. So if I were to put these 3 leaders in the proper tiers, yeah, they would go to B most likely, right? They're not the top 10, but they're in the top 20. I believe all these showed up in the top 20 besides Foxy, who I still have faith in. I believe in Foxy. So yeah, there is that. That's our top 10 for this is the second week of 09, right? This is all games too, by the way. And I also built out like this kind of summary page. So this is the leader's performance against the top 10 most played decks, not by win rate, but just by play rate. So this Shanks has a 50.6% win rate against the 10 most played decks, which show up here. And it tells you which ones he's strong against, which ones he's weak against. So Shanks really strong into green Bonnie, but weak against blue Nami for some reason. I haven't played this matchup, so I have to find out why. Probably he just doesn't have the bodies to break through Nami's counters, I guess, before she mills herself. And yeah, also have it broken down by like their win rate going first or second. So it looks like Shanks, on average, has a higher win rate going second. So you kind of want to pick second if you can. And then yeah, just some of his most used cards down here just to fill up the dead space here, to be honest. Yeah, next most played deck is Blue Doflamingo. We'll just take a look at the top 10 by play rate real quick. So he has a 54.2% win rate against the top 10 most played decks. That's pretty good, right? It's quite high. Really strong against Blue Nami and Teach, and then Purple Black Luffy. Weak against Black Yellow Luffy and Lucci. This is we know, right? Historically, since 8.5, he's been weak to these two decks. Slightly unfavored matchup into Shanks, but not by much. And yeah, it doesn't really matter if he's going first or second. 55% win rate going first, 52 going second, nearly 53, so probably negligible, but it looks like first gives you that slight edge. Up next is Marshall D. Teach at third, the third most played deck, but has quite a low win rate actually. 47.77% against the top 10 most played decks. And that could just be due to us being new to Blackbeard, right? We need a set to learn him. He had a lot of good showings in the East, but they did have more time to practice him, so I guess it could just be us needing more time to match. Or maybe just the Western playstyle isn't conducive to being countered by Blackbeard. But yeah, he's good into Black Yellow Luffy because you deny every one of his on plays. He can't play Gecko Moria, right? Loses access to a lot of his leader looping. Also good against Nami because yeah, the turns that you play that 10 cost Blackbeard, it denies that Nami's ability to win via event counter when she mills herself. Good against Lucci as well because yeah, every card in his deck has an on play that helps him with a bunch of value. And yeah, Purple Black Luffy as well also depends a lot on 8 cost Gecko Moria. Basically, Teach kills any deck that depends on 8 cost Gecko Moria. Completely loses to Blue Doflamingo though, 31% win rate against him. That's pretty drastically low. Also has an unfavored matchup into Purple Luffy, and then unfavored matchup into Shanks as well. But yeah, good into Bonnie and everything else. From that, he doesn't even have enough weak matchups to make up 5 weak against choices here. And then yeah, going second has a 50% win rate, going first has a 44, so you want to go second when you're playing Blackbeard. Up next is Purple Luffy, my favorite deck, has a 51.28% win rate. That's alright, right? It's kind of close to 50-50. And it has a 60% win rate going first, 40% win rate going second, so you really do want to go first with this deck. It makes sense, it's a lot stronger going first. And yeah, it demolishes Blue Nami, demolishes Black Yellow Luffy. Pretty good matchup into Purple Black Luffy and Blackbeard, and then almost goes even with Shanks, but has a pretty losing matchup into Lucci. This is what we feared. This is exactly the reason why I still run Magellans in my deck. It's what I feared, it's what I teched for, and it looks like it's a valid concern. Lucci is still relevant in the meta. He's like the 5th most played deck on the sim at least. Tournament play could be different, but I'd say that me including Magellans is still a valid choice to make, even though everyone's cutting it. Right? I had a feeling the West still liked Lucci a lot more. And then, yeah, losing matchup into Blue Doflamingo. I feel like this could be teched against. You just have to run more cards that are good into Blue Doflamingo. Also has a losing matchup to Red Purple Luffy. I personally don't feel that is the case, but I don't know, maybe I'm just not facing the best of the best Red Purple Luffys. And yeah, pretty much goes even with Bonnie. And then we'll move on to Lucci, the 5th most played deck. Yeah, everyone wrote him off, thinking he's not going to be top meta anymore, but he's still here, putting in a lot of good numbers. So 49.51% win rate, which is essentially like 50. And then going first, 52% win rate, going second, 47. So you do want to go first with Lucci. So good into Red Purple Luffy, good into Bonnie, we know this, good into Purple Luffy, we know this, good into Doflamingo. That's probably one of his strong suits, just being able to kill a lot of Blue Doflamingo's bodies. And Blue Doflamingo is the most played deck next to Shanks. But yeah, he does have a losing matchup into Shanks, and then really weak matchup into Blue Nami, and then Teach, and then Black Yellow Luffy he's historically had a bad matchup against. Then we have Red Purple Luffy next. So he has a 50% win rate, has a higher percent win rate going first. Good into Shanks, but bad into Bonnie. Abysmally bad? Why is it so bad? I guess I have to play more Red Purple Luffy to find out. This is really low and surprising. Also weak into Blue Doflamingo despite being a 6k base power leader, but just could be that he only has 3 life to defend himself with. And then we have Purple Black Luffy, who has a 42% win rate. So a high play rate, but a very low conversion to actually winning. His best matchup is 50% against himself. Every other matchup against the 10 most played leaders, it's negative. It's all under 50, completely diced to Blackbeard and Blue Doflamingo and Shanks, and Purple Luffy, which is like the top 4 most played deck. So I don't think Purple Black Luffy is going to be a good idea to bring to a tournament at the moment. But yeah, whether you're going first or second, he has a better going first win rate at least, because you play that 3-cost Zoro on curve. Up next is Jewelry Bonnie, a 47.95% win rate. Yeah, completely demolishes Red Purple Luffy somehow, and then good matchup into Black Yellow Luffy. Everything else is kind of even, but then completely dies to Nami. I think that's because Bonnie doesn't run that 9-cost Zoro anymore. And then loses to Shanks, Lucci, Blackbeard, and then Blue Doflamingo as well. Has a pretty much same win rate whether you're going first or second. It's like 1% different. And then we have Black Yellow Luffy, who has a 100% win rate against Blue Nami. It's not an insignificant sample size too. I'll have to find out why that is. Hey, future me here, you can ignore the part on screen where you saw that it had a 100% win rate against Blue Nami and then like a 66% win rate against Blackbeard. That's not true. I found an issue with the freaking selection. I'll explain it to you in case you want to know the details. So, card name is the leader name plus the card number from the set. There's 2 Monkey D. Luffy 003 cards actually. Right, there's starter deck 13003, which is Black Yellow Luffy, and then there's also OP01 003 Luffy, the red-green one. He's the deck that had that 100% win rate against Blue Nami, and then the good win rate into Blackbeard with the really low sample size. It was screwing with the charts. But yeah, now that I added the set that the card is coming from in the card name itself, when you're selecting the leader on the side here, it fixes the issue. This is the real strong against and weak against, but yeah, just I'm going to keep the rest of what I recorded originally into the video, but this is the true matchup spread here. Just FYI. Yeah, this is a deck that I don't really play much. Both of these decks, I don't know this matchup too well, but 46% win rate at the moment. We can't chalk it up to people not knowing how to play this deck anymore, right? People have mastered this deck by now. There's so many master classes on this deck. So it's probably truly indicative of the state of Black Yellow Luffy in this current meta. But yeah, it has a 50% win rate going second, but a pretty losing matchup going first. 43%, that's pretty significantly lower. Yeah, loses to Bonnie, loses to Purple Luffy, loses to Red Purple Luffy. But those are his weakest matchups. Everything else is pretty even or positive. So I'm guessing he must be losing a lot to the decks that are not in the top 10. If that's the case, if he has a good matchup into everything else in the top 10. And lastly, we'll look at Nami or... actually, let's look at Belletti. Even though Nami's the 10th most played, we saw Belletti in the weighted win rate. Right, it does have a 54.99% win rate. That's pretty high, actually. And yeah, going first, 50% win rate, going second, 56. So you want to go second if you can. Demolishes Blue Nami, demolishes Red Purple Luffy, demolishes Black Purple Luffy, demolishes Teach, demolishes Purple Luffy here. But a piss poor matchup into Blue Doflamingo, it's 30%, that's pretty low. And then loses to Lucci, loses to Bonnie. So might be kind of a 50-50 because depending on which of the popular leaders you're facing, you have a really good matchup into them or a really bad one. In fact, we can even take a look at this matchup spreadsheet. So it mimics what TCG matchmaking has, except they only released theirs, I think, for the prior week of matches. This is the entirety of OP09. And that's just because I was just curious to see the number. I also added like the number of winning matchups each deck has. Right, so on the left, this column here that shows if you're playing the deck, and then on the columns, it's if you're playing against that deck. So Shanks and the Doflamingo here has a 51.17% win rate in Shanks' favor. And yeah, we see Blue Doflamingo has the most winning matchups here. I'm looking at the top 22, by the way. I think the one that they prepare only goes to like top 10, showing against like the top 15 leaders or something, but I did 20 by 20. And yeah, just against the 20 most played decks, Doflamingo has a winning matchup against 14 of them. Most of them being the lower end though, but against the top 5 at least, he has a winning matchup into 3 of them. 3 out of the 5, excluding himself. Right, he's weak to Shanks, but he's good into Blackbeard and Purple Luffy, and then weak to Lucci, but good into Red Purple Luffy. Similarly, Shanks has the same kind of spread at the top 5, right? He's good into 3 of them, bad into Purple Luffy, bad into Red Purple Luffy. It's kind of like rock, paper, scissors up here. Same thing with the Blackbeard. He's weak against Shanks, Doflamingo, and then Purple Luffy, but good against Lucci and Red Purple Luffy. That's only 2. So yeah, a little bit less of a favorable spread for Blackbeard. But against like everything else after the top 5, he has a pretty good matchup into them. Only really losing to aggro, like Belletti here and then Zoro here. He has a 17% win rate against Zoro, that's really low. And then Purple Luffy in the top 5 has a winning matchup against 2 of them. So similar to Blackbeard's performance. So yeah, this kind of indicates it's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors meta for these like top 5 decks against each other, right? They're all good into like 2 or 3 of the decks up here, so it just depends on your matchup here. And then Purple Black Luffy has a losing matchup to pretty much everything in the top 10, right? 10 stops at like Nami, right? Or Belletti. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 at Belletti. So he loses to the top 10 most played decks. He wins against Enel, I guess, and then against Robin after that. But yeah, not looking too hot for Purple Black Luffy, unfortunately. Actually, Black Yellow Luffy, if you're playing against like the top 5 most played decks, has kind of the same favorable spread as some of the top meta decks. So if you're expecting to only face like top meta, Black Yellow Luffy could be a contender actually. Even though he has a lower win rate, it's against like these decks here, right? Against Nami, Belletti, Enel, and then Pudding. But against top meta, yeah, just as great as like Shanks or Doflamingo here. And yeah, because of that, yeah, I don't think Nami would be a great idea at the moment, right? Because you have a piss poor matchup into 3 of these. Doflamingo, Blackbeard, and Purple Luffy. It's not even like near 50%, it's 30% win rate. So if you just happen to get these matchups, there's no way you can get lucky and win. You just have to hope you face Shanks or Lucci or Red Purple Luffy here. And then actually one thing I want to note is Belletti has a favorable matchup into like a lot of the popular decks, right? Good into Shanks, good into Blackbeard, good into Purple Luffy, good into Red Purple Luffy and Purple Black Luffy. Does have a really bad matchup into Doflamingo and Lucci though. But if you want to like hedge your bets and hope you get all the Shanks and all the Blackbeards and Purple Luffys, you actually would do pretty well in the tournament with Belletti here. And then Enel, bad into the most popular decks, but good into like the top 20 at least, from the 10th to the 20th place. What else? Anything to note? No, that's pretty much it. Oh, actually Zoro. Zoro's something to note too. I think it's similar to Belletti. It's good into Shanks, good into Blackbeard. Actually loses to Purple Luffy. I thought it might be the other way around, but yeah, if you're trying to like gamble on your matchups, you could go pretty far with Zoro, right? He's good into a lot of these top decks by popularity. Even has a really good matchup into Purple Black Luffy and Bonnie and Black Yellow Luffy as well. So yeah, it could be a gamble, but I think Zoro could take you pretty far too. This kind of makes me want to do like a Zoro deck breakdown next. Maybe that's what my next video will be. Yeah, pretty much Marco, everybody beats Marco. I guess I overestimated how good he would be. Yeah, this is the meta at a glance at the moment. Would love to see how it changes. I'm going to track this data over time too, right? That's the interesting thing, to see how a meta evolves. We could see like the Blackbeard win rates increase across the board. If it does, yeah, he'd have one of the best like consistent matchups against everything. It's just that at the moment against the most popular decks, it's not too hot. But yeah, if we see this change over time, that's really interesting to learn about the meta. So yeah, just give me time. Well, I guess I have no choice. You guys have to wait for more data to be available for these calculations, and then we'll see how this translates to actual tournament performance. I think there's like a treasure cup this weekend, right? So it would be interesting to see how this data correlates to actual tournament performance. And yeah, that'll be it for this video. That's all I had for now. I spent so much time building these out, making sure all the numbers were correct and making sure they look nice. So hope you appreciate the effort here, right? It takes you a little more in-depth than what you can get from TCG matchmaking. But if you did want access to some of this data yourself, again, they gave me free trials to give away of their Patreon, so you can get access to it that way. Otherwise, you have to wait for me to make these videos where I go like a little bit more in-depth. Yeah, let me know what you guys think of these videos. I really like working with data, so yeah, I always want to use as much data as I can in these videos. I'm thinking maybe I'll include like the sample deck list that these decks use, but I won't have that ready for this video, so maybe that's something I'll have ready for next time, and like mulligan hands or something. But yeah, let me know if you have any suggestions. I'd love to hear them, and then let me know if this helped you decide what deck you should play, and if I should make more of these in the future. Even if you guys don't care about it, I'm just keeping this data for myself just because I want to hoard data. I like data. So yeah, I guess that's it. Like and comment and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Would appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Car D Kaizoku.